Hi students, it's Professor Berger. I am coming to you today with a new lecture on our new unit and new module. So right now we are wrapping up Unit 1 and Mod 1, and hopefully everyone has submitted their first essay. And so as you know, in a 6-week course, we have a new module and a new unit every week, right? We have 6 modules, and that's basically a new module or unit or one per week. All right, so just as you turn in one essay, we turn around and immediately start a new unit and a new module. And that's what we're doing today in this video. So I'm going to walk you through the new unit and the new module, and that will essentially be the focus. It is an introduction video, so everything's going to be just sort of an overview and not only an overview of the module and the assignments and the content within the module, but an overview of the new literature and the new writing assignment. So as you know, with each new unit and module, we have a new theme or focus, and we have new literature, and we have a new writing assignment. So I'm going to start at the beginning of the module with the overview and instructions, and I think all of you know by now that you always want to start each module at the beginning and work your way through in sequential order. When I am done with this video and sort of officially publish it and push it out there for you, it will be set up so that you do have to start at the beginning of the module, watch the lecture, the introduction to the module, and work through each page and piece of content in sequential order. Otherwise, the assignments will not let you submit. Remember from the other modules that the assignments will remain locked until you've completed in order the previous pages. So just keep in mind that the setup for the modules is the same, always starting in the beginning, not in the middle or skipping any of the of class, I'll say, and going straight to the end. Remember that essentially in an online class, these modules and video lectures and online office hours and communication, that's our classroom environment, right? And so you don't want to skip over the class, because class is what's helping, along with homework and practice, that's what's helping prepare you to write your essays. Okay, so just think of the videos and the modules as our online class. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start Mod 2, 20th Century Drama, Thematic Analysis, Gender, Loneliness and Isolation, and Justice. Trifles by Susan Glasbell. Okay, so great. What does that all mean? So let's actually go back a little bit. In our first unit and our first module, remember that we read Antigone, an ancient Greek drama and play from 460 BC, written by Sophocles. Okay, and we also wrote not only a literary analysis, but more specifically a character analysis, right? So now we're kind of progressing on the timeline a lot from 460 BC Greece, Greek literature, Greek drama, to early 20th century American drama. Okay, so we've made actually quite a big leap actually on the timeline, but the genre is still drama. It's still a play that we're focused on for our literature for this unit. So some things are the same and some things are different. Same genre, that is drama or plays, and still doing a literary analysis, except instead of a character analysis, you're writing about a theme, so that's a little different. But obviously, we're moving up quite a bit. You're going to notice that in our next unit, we're going to move up a little bit more on the timeline, okay? But we're really in the early 1900s, at the turn of the century, early 20th century American drama. And so I want to clearly establish that context for you, okay, before we start. And in addition to that, the themes that we're focused on in this unit is gender and gender roles, loneliness and isolation, and justice. So that's kind of a sort of the general buckets, a general overview. And our literature is Trifles, a short one-act play by Susan Glaspell. So our author is Susan Glaspell. The literature is Trifles. Some of you may be familiar with this play. Many of you probably aren't. And it's really actually an amazing play. It is incredibly short. It is one act, okay? And it was written in 1915, 1916. So I think the language is very accessible, it's short, but it's actually incredibly dense. And there's a lot to think about and discuss in this play. It's a really fascinating piece and a little bit of a drama, not a drama, a little bit of a mystery, right? This one act play revolves around a murder in a small rural community, like a small farming community, Midwestern community in early America. And so the setting is very remote and isolated. And there's been a murder, a shocking murder in this small town or this small community, a farming community. And people are just really kind of shocked. Like, this doesn't happen every day in these small communities at this time in American history. This is, a murder is very much not the norm. However, what's unusual about this mystery is that, we already basically know who the murderer is. So the mystery is not a whodunit. We know who committed the murder. The mystery is, what's the motive? Okay. So it's really kind of a fascinating and interesting story, and I think students really enjoy it and find it very interesting and engaging and very accessible and easy to read. So the challenge there is that we have to find the motive. And the other sort of challenge or shocking thing about this literature is who did it, which is, it's a woman, right? Now, we're not necessarily surprised in 2020 that women, this is not necessarily shocking for us in our culture and our time. But again, 1916, 104 years ago, this is very shocking for its time. So I'm just trying to establish some clear context and background for you, so you have a sense of how this drama really was received. It was kind of scandalous. It was actually kind of a controversy because it's a female author, okay? 1916 America, by the way, women don't have the right to vote. The 19th Amendment granting all women the right to vote doesn't happen until 1920. So female authors and writers and playwrights is still an unusual thing. And on top of the fact that Susan Glaspell is obviously a woman, the play has a very controversial subject matter and topic. A woman murders her husband in a small, quiet, kind of sleepy farming community. And so that's just kind of a shocking topic. And what's even more shocking is the ending, which I'm not going to give away. But I will tell you that the mystery here, again, is not who did it. We know immediately from the very beginning of the play that the wife, whose name is Minnie Wright, has committed the murder, has done this shocking and terrible thing and killed her husband in his sleep. Now, the main characters are two other women in the play who are helping collect some of Minnie Wright's belongings. because as the play opens, we find that Minnie Wright is actually in jail. Okay, she's in jail, and these other local women have come to the house to collect a few of her belongings, which are going to be taken to her at jail. And so this is very generally the setting. Now, Minnie has killed her husband, John Wright. Okay, and it's we don't really know why. They were married many years. This is a childless couple. They lived alone on a farm, and they basically kept to themselves. They were a quiet couple. And then suddenly one day it's discovered that John Wright has been strangled to death in his sleep. Okay, and the only other person there was Minnie. It's pretty clear that she's the one who killed John Wright, Minnie Wright, but nobody really seems to know why. Okay, why this quiet woman who's lived in their community for many years suddenly killed her husband in his sleep. So that gives you, I think, a good idea of the start to our story. And while that's the main story and the sort of the basic plot, the main characters of the story are two other women, local women from the town, Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters, who are again collecting a few of Minnie's personal items that are then going to be taken to Minnie, who's sitting in jail. And the play, it's one act, and it focuses on the dialogue, the conversation between these two women as they are looking around the Wrights' home, trying to collect a few things. At the same time that they are looking around trying to collect some personal items to take back for Minnie Wright, the local sheriff and the county attorney and Mr. Hale are investigating, walking around the property, trying to find a motive. So that sounds like a lot of pieces going on, but it's all really comes together in one tight story. And the action really focuses on Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters, these two women who are just in shock and don't at first believe that Minnie Wright could commit a murder or that she's murdered her husband, but slowly, as they discover clues in the home, come to realize that Minnie is not only the murderer, but they come to understand what they believe is a motive and a reason for Minnie Wright killing her husband. And again, I'm not going to give too much away here, but what Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters do at the end of our play, I think, is even more shocking. Again, in 2020, this may not sound like a shocking story, but I want you to have a good sense of our context. This is 1916 America, over 104 years ago, before women have the right to vote, officially and formally. That is all women, okay? So the culture here and the social and cultural context here is that women are not, in large part in the workforce yet. Women are primarily homebound as homemakers, as wives and mothers. You might beginning to see some women in, I guess, the sort of the nursing field, maybe as teachers, a little bit. That's just starting to happen because of World War One. In the 1910s, and some other major changes and things going on in the world and in America at that time due to the Industrial Revolution. This is a quick kind of history review. Due to the Industrial Revolution, the growth of urban centers and cities, people are starting to move away from the country into the cities. You are starting to see some changes in society, including the advancement of women. But and just to be clear, the suffrage movement, the women's rights and suffrage movement really started in the mid 1800s. But in the 1910s, it's really picking up momentum along with some other movements and other reforms in America that leads to the 19th Amendment in 1920 for women's right to vote. So there's actually some historical, social, and cultural context for you. This is the landscape for women at this time. They're still basically relegated to the home and to the kitchen. They get one room in the house, the kitchen. They don't have the right to vote and don't necessarily have the right to own property per se. The property is generally in the husband's name, and that's really what the sort of the average home looks like in America at this time. So as a woman, if you're not married and with children by a certain age, you probably by 25, 30 at the very latest, you're considered a spinster, okay? You probably live with your family. All right, you don't go out on your own or necessarily get an education or a job and live on your own. You grow up in order to get married young and have a family. But a lot of this is changing in the 1910s with a lot of reforms. And again, this has to do with World War I, the Industrial Revolution, and the growth of urban centers and cities, some other stuff. But that's what's going on in the country, and that's your context for Susan Glaspell and Trifles, which was published around 1916. Again, a one-act play about a woman who kills her husband in his sleep and actually doesn't demonstrate really any regret. This is, again, very shocking for the time, and, it was a controversy. It was controversial. So there's an overview of our literature. Again, you're going to be writing a literary analysis around a theme, and I'll just go back to that. Our themes, there could be more themes, but these are like the three buckets, the three major themes: gender, gender roles, loneliness and isolation, and justice. So what skills are we really going to be focused on in this unit? We've talked about the literature, talked generally another literary analysis essay. The skills you're going to focus on are continuing to work on close reading of text, okay? Again, a one-act play, I think it's about 12 pages, but don't be deceived by this short play. A lot of times people think short, simple, easy, but it's not necessarily easy. I'm not going to call Trifles easy because it's roughly 12 pages instead of the roughly 70 pages of Antigone. And of course, Antigone was a translation of the Greek. This is still a dense work. There's still, a lot going on between the lines. So we're practicing our close reading of a text and really getting into the detail and the nuance. We're also still focused on the writing process, specifically pre-writing. So with this unit, you're going to submit notes and brainstorming, but also an outline. And again, thematic literary analysis. So that's just, again, same kind of style of paper, 850 words, a little bit longer, like 3.5 pages, but your focus will be one theme instead of one character. We'll also be focused on MLA formatting and documentation. So not a lot different in terms of MLA style formatting and documentation for this unit, but when we get to the end of the unit and we're looking at the proofreading checklist, when you're going over your rough draft, we'll talk a little bit about MLA style documentation. You like the other unit, the other module, you're going to have a lot of the same structure and organization to this module. So I do try to be consistent and really straightforward and streamline the process. Again, the modules are our classroom combined with the videos and the online communication and instruction. Having said all of that, I don't want it to be a complicated or difficult process for you to log on and find things. I really want you to be able to go to one place to find everything you need for this module. So I have put as much of that content that we need over the next week into this module. If there's something that I think of, I'll probably send it out in an email, or I'll put it toward the end of the mod and send you an email. But I think we've got everything here for this module. And again, we have, our instruction page, our introduction. You have a lot of the same components. You have the assignment sheet, the rubric, you have sort of the documents and materials, and then you have these shorter informal assignments. Okay, so you'll work through halfway through this module and read the literature, and then you'll come back to the module and work on the shorter informal assignments, or I also call this the daily work. And these assignments will look very similar to what you had in the first module. Again, keeping basically the same structure and being consistent. So you're going to, read the literature, obviously, and then compose a short reflection on your reading, just your thoughts, and there'll be discussion boards, so reflections, discussion boards. You'll be submitting some pre-writing, and there'll be several, I believe 4 or 5 of these smaller assignments that are worth anywhere from 5 to 20 points. Most of them are 5 or 10 points, and I believe the last one is worth 20 points. And then the module will end with the formal assignment, which is our culminating writing project, the culminating project, the formal paper, and that is your thematic literary analysis of 850 words. All right, so there's our general structure. There's a very general overview and introduction to Trifles by Susan Glaspell. So what we have here, again, are the instructions for how to tackle it all. Right? First, work through the content, the files, the documents, the materials. Do the pre-reflection before reading Trifles. So after you have looked at some of the information on the historical context, read the assignment sheet, and I think there are a couple of videos, sort of introductory videos. You have a short reflection, a what do you know reflection, very similar to what you had in Unit 1. And then after you've completed that pre-reflection, read Trifles, okay? So here we just have it bulleted out in a list: intro video, overview and instructions, documents, historical and social context. I gave you an introduction to the context, and there are a couple of links in this module from the history channel. I don't know if there are any history buffs in the class, but I think it's really helpful to have a sense of context. Historical context, what's going on historically speaking in America in this time in 1916. Social context, there are a lot of reform movements going on, a lot of movements for change. Cultural context, right? What is the culture and the general mood and attitude? Well, it's kind of a crazy time. Again, we've got World War I, we've got a lot of change, a lot of growth. It's happening very fast. So do pay attention to those links regarding the historical and social context. That'll give you a really good sense of kind of what to expect, right, before you start reading Trifles, but help you place the story in its time period, in its era, because 104 years is still, a lot has changed if you think about it from 2020, from our point of view, and the pre-reading reflection. So after you've completed the first half of the module, finishing reading of Trifles, right? Go back, number 2, second part. Come back and start working through the tasks and the assignments, the daily work, right? And again, you've got a post-reading reflection, you've got a couple discussion boards, some brainstorming, pre-writing. There's some optional assignments here. You could submit a rough draft, a partial rough draft by Monday for feedback. I'm offering one-on-one student conferences next week on Monday and Tuesday. There's a page which explains the student conferences. Another proofreading checklist, right? And then an assignment link for the final copy of Essay 2. So there you go. Those are the nuts and bolts of our module for Unit 2. And so now what I think would be helpful is I'm going to actually scroll through a couple of these pages and show them to you before wrapping up the video. Historical context, early 20th century. So just click on the link and it'll take you to that page. And what I'm expecting here is that you just do some reading around, click on some stuff. These are very short reads, probably 5 minutes, but it's really helpful, again, to do some reading around here. And again, take this seriously. I don't quiz people over this kind of content. I just want you to prepare yourself for the reading, okay? So you can hit the back key and then click next. And here is another link. This is actually one that I really do want everyone to pay attention to. The Roaring Twenties and the New Woman. Now, obviously our play, like I said, published in 1916. There you go. There's a picture of the New Woman. But this is all kind of leading up to the 19th Amendment, which gives all women the right to vote in 1920. And so a lot of what's going on in the 1910s is very much sort of like seed and sort of seeding what's going to happen in the 1920s. So they're very much connected is what I'm saying. And so I decided to enclose a link on the 1920s, specifically this piece on the New Woman. So do read. It's very short. It's, as you can see, it's a couple paragraphs. Pay close attention to this short section on the New Woman, because this very much relates to Susan Glaspell, to her generation, and certainly the women that she's writing about in this short drama, Trifles. Okay, and quite frankly, this information I think is just really sort of interesting, especially if you're a history buff. The next couple links are about Susan Glaspell. Right? Do read the biography. It's always helpful to read a biography. And again, this is just short stuff, but scroll through it. It gives you some really interesting background information about Glaspell. She actually talks about, or it talks about here in this biography, her inspiration for Trifles, which would be good information to have. I'm not going to reveal too much. I'll let you guys do the word-for-word reading on your own. But again, that's probably a couple minutes. And then this next link is about the play, right? And so you can see a short summary, some background information. Go ahead and look at all of that. It's just really interesting stuff. And again, preparing you for your reading. So in addition to giving us good context for the literature and for understanding the literature, one of the other reasons why we do some pre-reading to the reading is because it actually helps with our comprehension. And there's a lot of research and evidence that shows this, that when we pause and we take time to do some, I'll call it pre-reading, like this, reading about the reading, we know that students make, they have better comprehension and they make connections with the ideas in the literature. So it's really very helpful and important. You have a short pre-reading reflection, a couple of questions. do a thoughtful job, do your best. The rubric is attached, but you guys know from the first module, you're familiar with these kinds of assignments, I think, by now. Here is our actual essay assignment sheet. You want to pause here and read this word for word and read it carefully. Essay 2 is worth 15% of your overall grade. Right? You are writing a thematic literary analysis of Trifles by Susan Glaspell. It is due next Wednesday, July 21st, before midnight. And I think that's, again, basically in a week, but keep in mind this play is roughly 10 or 12 pages. So you do not need the better part of a week to read this. You should be able to read the play, actually work through the first half of the module, read the play, and do a couple of short assignments, right, in one sitting, in a couple hours. Okay, so really, I would think between Thursday and Friday, get the first half of the module done, read the play, and then have all the daily work and homework done by the weekend. But here's your writing prompt. Compose an original literary analysis, a minimum of 850 words, of Glaspell's 20th century drama Trifles. Right? You have several choices to focus your discussion on: gender and gender roles, loneliness and isolation, and then finally justice. No outside research is necessary. Your essay should reflect critical thinking in your writing, discuss the significance or importance of your topic as it relates to the play. So here is the actual writing prompt. Choose one. What role do gender differences play in Susan Glaspell's Trifles? And number 2, what is the significance of loneliness or isolation, or what is the significance of justice? Now, you choose one of those prompts. You don't write about both of them. You just choose one. So you can write about the role of gender differences, or you can write about the significance of either loneliness and isolation as a theme and the role that plays in the drama, or you can write about justice and this idea, this very big idea of justice in Trifles. So that's 3 different themes, but you only write about one. And I just want to make sure that that's clear, because I don't want anybody to try and take on multiple prompts or too much in one paper. You just focus on one and do your best. Okay, so your thesis statement, right? We want to make sure that we pay attention to our thesis statement. Your thesis needs to be an argument. And here are a couple of pointers. Make sure your thesis completely and fully answers the question. Make sure your thesis speaks to significance or importance of your topic or the theme. And then finally, make sure your thesis is arguable and revelatory. That means revelatory, that it's like providing some profound or deep insight into your topic or the theme. Okay, so there is your assignment sheet. Again, I'm not going to read it word for word. There are directions. There's a list of requirements and expectations. It's basically the same format: an introduction, a body with several points or subtopics, and then a concluding paragraph. Again, don't think 5-paragraph theme paper, okay? It's not 1 paragraph per point. It's one section of your paper per subtopic, and a section of your paper is usually going to be multiple paragraphs. So think a couple paragraphs per point. And remember that 850 words is around 3.5 to 4 pages. So it's just a little bit longer than your first essay. I'll let you read the rest of that on your own. Here is the literary analysis rubric. Again, because it's another literary analysis, the rubric hasn't changed, but take a look at it. Remember, there are 5 categories: argument, which is your thesis, 30 points or 30%, content and ideas at 25 points or 25%. That means that your argument, your content, your ideas is over 50% of your essay. Why? Because again, in college, we're looking to develop our ideas, to fully develop them. And we're also really looking at being, independent critical thinkers. Critical thinking is something that you've probably already heard a lot about in college. So while the other categories count, and they're certainly important, structure and organization, grammar or mechanics, and style, MLA format, they're 10 points or 25 points. Okay, so we're really focused on developing our ideas in a college analysis. Here is the outline, or a template for creating your own outline. And again, you're going to see basically the same outline. I'm not going to change things around a lot here. We have new literature, and a new time period, but you're writing another literary analysis. So really, Unit 2 is an opportunity to kind of master whatever you kind of struggled with in Unit 1, right? So that's what I always tell students. Think of this as an opportunity to really master an analytical paper, an analytical writing. Again, here are all the elements you need for your intro, the body of your paper. You need 3 or 4 subtopics. And here's what your subtopics need to look like: a strong, assertive topic sentence, supporting sentences that provide analysis, discussion, be descriptive, be rich in unpacking those ideas, being analytical, don't summarize, analyze, provide supporting detail and evidence. These are examples from the play, at least 2. And then wrap up that section of your paper, transition to your next subtopic. Okay, moving right along. Here is just a discussion board in case you have any questions about the unit or the essay. I will be checking it daily. I've provided a link to a digital copy of the play, and this is Project Gutenberg. If you click on it, it will take you directly to the play Trifles. So I'm providing the literature for you. You don't have to buy anything. There are lots of online versions, by the way, lots of free online versions, but I do want you to use Project Gutenberg. This is a very reliable source, and this is the electronic digital version I want you to use for the play. It's a trusted source, and I think it's a fairly easy format to read. You're going to notice, again, because it is a play, it's basically all dialogue with a little bit of stage direction. It's all about following that dialogue, and it's not just about paying attention to what people say, but it's noticing what people don't say. For example, we're told that John Wright is a quiet man, people don't say a lot about him. We don't get the impression that he's a very warm or outgoing person. And it's not so much that we're told that as it's what people don't say about John Wright, who is our murder victim in this short drama. You also want to pay attention to tone. You want to pay attention to the tone of the language that's being used, the way the county attorney and sheriff, the way the men talk to Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters. So look for tone, look for sarcasm, look for things that are said or not said. Look for the nuance in that dialogue. But this will probably take you maybe a half hour. This is actually a link to all the plays by Susan Glasgow, but of course you just need to read Trifles. So as you can see, it's not going to take long to get through the first half of this module. Okay, the post-reading reflection, and this really focuses on what you were feeling and thinking as you were reading the play. Anything confusing, anything shocking or offensive or interesting. What did you feel or experience while reading the play? Were there any surprises? Any sympathetic or unsympathetic characters? Do you think justice was served at the end of the play? So those are the things to focus on in crafting your post-reading reflection. I strongly, strongly encourage you to take notes while you're reading the play, and to read it a couple of times. It's a short read, so why not read it a couple times and take really good notes? Part of your assignments, actually, toward the end of this module, is to turn in your reading notes. So I'll just give you that heads up, just like you did with Antigone. Post-reading questions, okay? This is worth 10 points. Here's a link to the questions. And then here are the discussion boards. You have 2 of them. And as always, you're going to post an answer and then go back a day or 2 later and respond to a classmate. Remember that this is part of our class, right? You're engaging with me online. I'm engaging with you. I will be checking these discussion boards. I won't be responding to every single post, but I will be checking in and occasionally putting a comment here and there. But the purpose of these discussion boards is to bounce ideas off of each other, to kind of use your classmates to brainstorm. And as always, I put here in the directions, engage, right? Engage with the writing prompt. This is just a short post, like several sentences, maybe a paragraph at the most. Connect, all right? So engage with the assignment, connect with it, come back and connect with the classmate and discuss, right? Let's get a little bit of a class discussion going here. All right, and this is an assignment focused on your brainstorming and your pre-writing. This assignment link, it's worth 20 points. But this is also really cool because you guys are getting credit for the writing process, right? You're going to upload your notes. You're going to do some brainstorming on topics, and you're going to create an outline, okay? So all of that you're going to upload to this assignment link, 3 documents or 3 files. You know, your reading notes, your brainstorming on your essay topic or your essay theme, and then an outline, which is basically showing me how you plan to prepare your, organize your essay. An outline is a plan for organizing your essay. It's like a roadmap, right? Or a blueprint for your essay. So notice that your reading notes are just that. They're notes from when you're reading the play. The brainstorming can be a list, a free write, a cluster, a drawing. It's just basically, I think I'm interested in the topic of justice, and so you're going to do some brainstorming by hand on a piece of paper around the theme of justice. What comes to mind when you think about that theme? That's the kind of brainstorming I'm talking about. And some people free write, some people list, some people do a cluster, okay, or mapping, some people draw. Whatever that brainstorming is, your focus is themes and paper topics. And again, the outline, that's just a next step in the writing process. So you've chosen your theme or topic, and you're starting to put together like a working thesis and what your 3 or 4 points are going to be in the body of your paper. So you can see that this is a really important short assignment. It's really the writing process. I want you to upload notes and brainstorming and outline to show me your writing process, that you're engaged with the writing process, okay, and that you're preparing to write your paper. And I know some people think, well, that's kind of a pain. I just want to sit down and write my paper. But you know what? One of the learning objectives of this course is developing a writing process with a writing voice. And so this is part of that. Assignments like this help develop that writing process. And honestly, it really helps to prepare you to sit down and write a more thoughtful paper. So this is how you, at this point, you've you're probably into the weekend. Maybe this is Monday that you're working on all of this pre-writing. So you can see that you start with the module on Thursday and reading the shorter assignments Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, Monday. That's sort of a general idea of where you are in the week when you are working on this assignment right here, the pre-writing, which again, you're getting credit for the writing process, which is really cool. Okay, so I will post, just like I did in Unit 1, a short lecture, the review of trifles, just my observations from the discussion board, some reflections of my own on the play, and the themes that you'll be writing on. I will discuss all 3 themes, gender, loneliness, isolation, and justice. So you'll want to pay close attention to those notes. And again, my reflections from the discussion boards. I will also post a lecture, which is a review of our essay, Essay 2, and those reviews will be posted again at the beginning of the week as you are sort of preparing to write your paper. So everybody's going to be in slightly different places. Some people might already have a full draft by Monday. Some people might be sitting down and starting the writing process with the pre-writing, the brainstorming, and the outlining. But everybody by Monday should be done with the short informal assignments, of course with the reading, and be at least starting the writing process by Monday when I post those reviews. Student conferences, this is optional. So take a look at it. I really encourage you to just meet with me virtually or via phone. I can call you, we can FaceTime, and we can talk about grades, we can talk about Essay 2. I will be releasing your graded Essay 1 by Monday. I might be a little sooner over the weekend, but probably Monday. So you could meet with me to talk about questions about Essay 2, or if you have any questions about your graded Essay 1. So do consider this. Just let me know by Monday if you want to do a virtual conference, and let me know whether you want to do it on Monday or Tuesday and what time slot. Our checklist for proofreading our essay, which is always strongly encouraged. And then finally, the link for submitting your final copy next week, so a week from now. And of course, as always, I have a rubric attached, and I have the assignment sheet, the outline, and the rubric again. So I've got everything embedded in this assignment link just for quick reference. So that's a lot of information, but that is our Unit 2, Mod 2. And I am going to go back to modules, to the home page. All right, so I will leave you guys to it. All right. As always, email me if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer questions. As I'm scrolling through the modules, I just want to mention to you that I've also posted a short module on MLA style formatting and documentation. Those are just tools. If you have questions, check it out. There are examples. Here's a quick grammar review. If you're concerned, you feel like you're a little rusty on grammar, you can check out these short videos. And then finally, I have another module here, which is short videos and tutorials on the writing process. So none of that is mandatory. It's just there as supplemental tools and resources to help you that you can go to. And of course, as always, email me with any questions. Okay, guys, that's it for now. Take care, good luck, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye.